Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sports Blitz here, and we're back with our NFL Week 14 power rankings. Before I get into it, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Every single week, I upload the power rankings and game predictions for every single week. So make sure to subscribe and follow for that. So let's go ahead and get started with this week. I'm going to go ahead and actually move the Giants to 32. I kind of got to thinking about it, and I'm like, Jacksonville's really, really bad. They were 32 this last week, but the Giants have been atrociously bad, and that one hasn't really mattered who's been at quarterback. I mean, their defense has gotten worse. And even like during that Cowboys game, Dexter Lawrence went down, so he's, I believe, out for the year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not going to help him at all going forward. So I've got the Giants at 32. They're they're going to be a number one overall pick contention. 31, I do have the Jags. Just up a spot. Trevor Lawrence went on IR today, so it's going to be Mac Jones for the rest of the year. They're also going to be a number one pick contention. Honestly, I think it's going to be a matter of, if the Jags happen to win another game this season, Giants get it. If not, the Jags get it. Because I think the Jags currently hold the number one pick. So I think it's going to be a matter of that. Number 30, I'm actually going to go ahead and I think I'm going to have the Jets here. I know this is technically moving the Raiders up. I don't have a problem with that, though. They played the Chiefs really tough. Honestly, the Raiders should have won. Okay? This is another example of the Chiefs situation that they're getting so lucky every game. I think the Raiders should have won that. So I'm going to go ahead and move them up. I think the Jets are the worst team between those two right now. Yeah, the Jets were up, I think, 14-0 on the Seahawks at one point, and then just absolutely blew it. Things looked atrocious from then on, and yeah, they kind of got destroyed. It almost kind of felt like the Seahawks were like giving them a head start in the game. Like they wanted to challenge themselves a little bit, just kind of toy with them. And I could be wrong, you know. A lot of NFL teams probably wouldn't really do that, but that's kind of what it felt like. So Jets here at 30, Raiders here at 29. I don't have a problem with that. At 28, I'm gonna move the Titans back down here. They got absolutely destroyed. I mean, they just have not been good this year. Their defense hasn't been as good as expected this year. I will say, Will Levis as a whole, I feel like is improving. I think he's starting to look a lot better. He's making less stupid mistakes. They're still there. There's still some that he makes, and you gotta expect that with a young quarterback. But he's not making them as often. He's not making as detrimental of mistakes anymore. So you can definitely see the growth with Will Levis now. But I think it's going to take some time to kind of rebuild that team, and they're just not in a great spot right now. 27, going to leave the Patriots there. They lost 25-24 on an attempted 68-yard field goal, and they were like a yard or two shy from actually making it. That was how close that game came down to. So I'm not gonna move them down at all for that. I think that was as close as you can lose a game, realistically. So 26. I think I'm gonna move the Dallas Cowboys up here. I think they were 28 last week, so up 2 spots. You could see they were in complete control of the Giants game, but again, that's kind of a situation that it's the Giants, and I don't know how much I want to buy into the Cowboys starting to look a little bit better now, you know? Like they are 5-7. I realize that. They have a better record than some of these teams in front of them, but I just don't know that I can buy into it yet. I still think they're a bad team. So I've got them here at 26. Got the Browns here at 25. I believe this is technically up 1 spot from last week. They had an exciting game against the Broncos. I did not expect that was going to be that fun of a game. That was actually a lot of fun to watch. 41-32. Jameis Winston couldn't decide if he wanted to be the hero or the villain. He threw 2 pick sixes. Was also absolutely dicing up the Broncos secondary with Jerry Jeudy, who got 200 and I think 35 yards and a touchdown against his former team, by the way. So yeah, they looked good. So then here at 24, I'm actually gonna move the Saints down here. They lost to the Rams. I felt like during that game, I felt like it was relatively even at points, but the Rams kind of seemed like they were taking control there, mostly in like the fourth quarter, and kind of just seemed like they had it solidified. That was kind of the feel I had. Um, I still think the Saints team is looking a lot better under Darren Rizzi, and it kind of has to make you wonder if the Saints are going to look to possibly have Darren Rizzi as the head coach next year, or if they want to go in a completely different direction. I know since the Sean Payton era, you know, they had already had Dennis Allen on the staff. They decided to keep Dennis Allen. Obviously, after a couple of years, Dennis Allen got fired now too, and Darren Rizzi was on that staff. It's a matter of, do they want to keep using the same guys in the building, or do they want to just get a fresh start with someone new? So who knows? I think Darren Rizzi could end up being kind of a culture guy, which could end up really helping the Saints. But again, that's probably more of an off-season talk sort of thing. At 23, taking a look at some of these teams around here, see if there's anyone I really want to move down. Yeah, I'll go ahead and have the Panthers here at 23. This is up 1 spot. Look, if you guys watch the game, and I'm being as unbiased as possible, the Panthers should have won this game. They got screwed on a touchdown to Adam Thielen. Like every single angle I'm seeing, that's a touchdown. I'm seeing Bucks fans saying that's a touchdown. Literally 98% of the comments I'm seeing out there, regardless of the platform, are saying the Panthers got screwed on that. So instead, they had to take 3 points when they should have had 7. Plus, you consider like at other points in the game, Eddie Pinheiro missed 2 field goals. Then in overtime, the Bucks missed like a 55-yard field goal, and Panthers got it back. They were driving downfield, looking really good, got into field goal range, and then Chuba Hubbard fumbled, and the Bucks were able to end the game at that point. there were just so many things that kind of went against the Panthers here. But watching the game, it really felt like they should have won. So, had they actually not gotten screwed by the refs and, maybe Eddie Pinheiro made, you know, those kicks, Panthers probably would have won and they'd probably end up in the top 20 at this point. But unfortunately, that's how wins and losses work. So I'm only moving them up one. Not going to be cheap with it. So yeah, I got them here at 23. At 22, I have the 49ers. Yeah, they honestly haven't been looking really all that great even since McCaffrey came back from injury. It did kind of seem like at one point they were kind of starting to get through the injury bug and kind of start to get healthy. And then, boom, McCaffrey is out for the season. Jordan Mason goes on IR. So now their starter is Isaac Gorendo, who hasn't gotten hardly any touches this year. Brock Purdy really hasn't looked all that great. Defense has been struggling real bad. The 49ers just are not a good team right now. They really aren't. They're in a tough spot. So, yeah, I got them here at 22. At 21, I've got the Atlanta Falcons. If it wants to move properly. There we go. I've got the Atlanta Falcons here at 21. Kirk Cousins looked atrocious in that game against the Chargers. He threw 4 interceptions, and that was the reason the Falcons lost. Chargers defense looked really good. I will say the Falcons finally got a little bit of a pass rush going against what I thought was a good O-line and what typically is a good O-line. However, this is 2 straight weeks now where the Chargers O-line has been really struggling, mostly in pass protection, but really, rushing as well. They really struggled against the Ravens, so seeing them struggle against the Falcons now too is kind of worrisome. But yeah, anyways, I got the Falcons here at 21. Like it kind of felt like even with all of the turnovers and everything, the Falcons had a shot to win this game, and Kirk Cousins still just threw it away. Which is a kind of a funny pun because if he threw it away, he wouldn't have been getting those interceptions. Anyways, moving on to number 20. I've got the Colts up here, up one spot. Beat the Patriots. I already talked about the Patriots almost winning the game on a 68-yard field goal attempt and it falling just a yard or two short. That was, again, as close of a win as you can get. So I got the Colts here at 20. At number 19, I think I've got the Bears here. Up a couple spots from last week. I know they lost to the Lions, but they played them really... I thought they played them really, really tough, to be honest. I mean, you watch the game and the clock management at the end was atrocious. It was awful. I thought Caleb Williams made some throws in there to put them in a good spot to win the game. Or even leave some time on the clock for a field goal for overtime. I mean, this is the number 1 team in the NFL, in my opinion, at least that they're playing against, and they basically almost take it to overtime, if not winning, and the coach screws it away with awful clock management. And the worst thing is, they still had a timeout left. They could have taken a timeout before the snap. So, awful clock management. I think that'll improve a little bit with the interim head coach. We'll have to see what direction they decide to go in the offseason there. But for right now, I've got them here at number 19. Got the Bengals here at number 18. They put up a tough fight against the Steelers. I will say there were a lot of bad reffing calls here. I thought there were a lot of big, like, in my opinion, dirty hits that didn't get called. I saw several replays of Calvin Austin getting absolutely railed before before the ball even touched his hands. Just dirty looking hits. I thought on the pick six early on, I thought that should have been a penalty when the defender hit George Pickens like that early. Again, it's all ifs and buts. My thing is, the refs have been awful this year. Sometimes it's kind of hard to, play the refs and the team you're playing. Either way, they made it a close game. They made it a good game. That's really all there is to it. So, number 17, I've got, let's see, because the Texans beat the Jags, but I'm trying to think if that's enough to move them up. I think all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to swap the Dolphins and Texans. Put the Dolphins at 17, Texans at 16. The Dolphins got shellacked pretty bad by the Packers. Really, I feel like the score doesn't even show. Or I feel like the score makes it look like it was a closer game than it really was. I thought the Packers were in complete control of that game the entire time. And so something's going on with the Dolphins this year. Like, they're not the same that they were last year. Texans, like I said, they moved up by 1, but they barely beat the Jags, even after Trevor Lawrence went out early. I feel like that's a game that really they've got to come in and dominate, and that's not what happened at all. So, number 15, I've got the Bucks here staying at the same spot. Like I mentioned earlier, I thought there were several things that went against the Panthers, with reffing calls, with the missed kicks, with the overtime fumble. Several things that, like, watching the game, it felt like the Panthers were the better team. I thought there were a lot of times that they made Baker Mayfield not look good. That was Baker Mayfield's worst game of the season, statistically. I believe he was also sacked, I think, 4 times. So, Panthers pass rush, starting to look better too. And really against a Bucs O-line that was supposed to be really good. So, not looking good there for the Bucs. It is good to see that Baker Mayfield, I believe, was a full participant in practice today after having his ankle stepped on in the Panthers game. So that's a good sign for his availability list this week. Mike Evans should be on his way to potentially another 1,000-yard season. I think that team's going to be more worried about getting him there than he is kind of the vibe and idea that I'm getting there. So I think he's going to reach it. At number 14, Honestly, I think I'm going to keep the Rams here. I think they played the Saints really tough, and they ended up beating the Saints. But between the Seahawks winning their game, I can't move them over the Seahawks. And honestly, like the Cardinals barely lost to the Falcon or the Vikings. And honestly, I predicted the Cardinals to win. I think the Cardinals are a better team. I am going to swap the Seahawks and Cardinals right now, though. I think I'm going to switch that order. But I'm going to keep the Rams here at 14. They've looked a lot better lately. Other than the Eagles game, of course. You guys know about that game. Other than that one, they've been looking real good lately. So I think 14 is pretty realistic for them. Moving on to, like I said, the Cardinals and Seahawks. Cardinals played the Vikings really, really tough. And really, had it not been for that game-winning touchdown for the Vikings, Cardinals would have won it. It was a super close game. I really felt like the Cardinals were in position to win, and they kind of just let it go at the end. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, like I said, were down 14-0 against the Jets early on, and then came back and just put a beating on them. So I got the Seahawks here at 12. Number 11. So the Commanders completely dominated the Titans. But let's look at who's ahead of them. We got the Chargers, who won this week. The Broncos, who won this week. The Steelers, who won this week. The Packers, who won this week. The Vikings, who won this week. Chiefs, who won this week. And then the Ravens at number 4. I can't move the Ravens clear to number 11. So because of that, we've got the Commanders here at number 11, just outside the top 10. I don't think it's right to move them in front of any of these teams at this time. And I will say I'm going to go ahead and keep the Chargers there at 10 as well. They just about lost the game to the Falcons, despite Cousins throwing 4 interceptions. In a game like that, the Chargers shouldn't keep it that close. Chargers should have dominated more than that. Number 9, I'm going to have the Broncos here. I'm going to keep them here after last week. I think that's honestly pretty fair. But number 8 is where I'm going to move the Ravens to after their loss last week. And readjusting kind of these next few, I'm going to be honest, I want to move the Chiefs out of the top 5. They are not as good as their record shows. Just plain and simple. They're not as good as their record shows. They were super close to losing to the Panthers after almost losing to the after almost losing to the Broncos. They almost lost to the Panthers and then almost lost to the Raiders. They're not as good as their record shows. These are games they should be winning by a lot more. Really, except for the Broncos game. I can see that being more competitive. But they should have dominated the Raiders. They should have popped at least 35 on the Panthers, to be honest. And coming into that game, nobody other than... Well, I'm not even going to go down that road. I'm not even going to go down that road. I'll go ahead and have the Chiefs actually here at 7. The Vikings won their game, and I think they looked good doing it. So I'm going to have the Vikings here at 6, and the Chiefs at 7. Vikings kind of came back on a game-winning touchdown against the Cardinals. So I think 6 is still a good spot for them. My top five right now are going to be the Steelers, who, looked good against the Bengals. Put 44 on them. That's a lot of points to be putting on any given team, especially like I didn't expect the Steelers' offense to be popping like this right now. So, torch the Bengals defense. Number four, I've got the Packers. It seems like they're figuring it out. Jordan Love is starting to look a little bit more like the Jordan Love we know, at least from like last year. And it honestly, if you kind of look at it, it kind of matches the theme. Like last year, Jordan Love started off really not that great, and then second half of the season really just started shredding defenses, having beautiful deep balls and everything. And that's kind of what we saw this week, and really what I think we're going to continue to see. So I've got the Packers here at number four. I think they're a really, really good team. Eagles here at three, Bills at two, Lions at one. Not switching up that order at all. I think they're the pretty undisputed top three teams right now. So, yeah, let me know what you think of these power rankings in the comment section below. Again, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Later.